It is a sophisticated, syncopated energy that runs through nearly everything in Salvador. In the very architecture, the parapets, clay rooftops, cathedral spires, the Baroque carvings, and the statues. It is energy that runs in staccato along cobblestone streets and stucco walls, and skitters and dips through markets and neighborhoods, that pauses to reflect, to sway with arms spread in greeting inside once hidden temples. It soars along a coastline that faces the continent of its origin. And during its annual carnival, a uniquely Brazilian moment of spiritual freedom, it explodes into fragments of color, shadow, and frenetic movement, erupting from a people who sing to their orishas and their kidnapped ancestors in a single voice. It is an energy that does not forget, and everywhere, in everything, whispers one word: Africa. It was Brazil's first capital. Between 1549 and 1763, Salvador was the principal colonial link between Portugal and the New World. And in 1558, the first slave market of the Americas was inaugurated. For more than 300 years, enslaved African labor was the cornerstone of Brazil's sugarcane, mining, and coffee economy. During that period, an estimated 4 to 5 million people were captured, mostly from Central West Africa, and shackled to the crammed holds of Portuguese ships that sailed across the Atlantic Ocean to Brazilian shores. By far, more human chattel was brought here than any other country in the Americas, including the United States. Of those slaves brought to Brazil, more than 1 million came to Salvador. According to museum director Marcelo Cunha, they were separated from their tribal groups and families and forced to learn Portuguese in order to communicate even among themselves. Whipping, beating, and rape were common.
Extremamente violento, não há como não ser violento, não há como admitir que pertencer a uma outra pessoa e ter a liberdade limitada seja uma situação de não violência, é uma situação de violência. Há uma ideia de que a colonização portuguesa foi uma colonização plástica, do contato, diferenciada, então, compara-se, diferente da colonização inglesa ou da colonização espanhola, mas isso é uma falácia, certo? É um processo tão violento quanto qualquer outro processo de colonização, e no Brasil ainda tem um agravante, né, que foi o lugar onde durou mais tempo.
Today, more than 80% of Salvador's 3 million residents are of African descent, black, or of mixed race. This, in terms of population, is by far more than any other city in the world outside of Africa itself. Their heritage is a fusion of ancestral tribal practices that blended and morphed over time, and according to renowned poet and historian José Carlos Capinam, is now expressed more openly and with more enthusiasm and vibrancy than at any other time in history.
Que cidade é essa? Essa é uma cidade negra, é uma cidade africana, é uma cidade que tem seus rituais que não são percebidos pela maioria, mas, no entanto, é cada vez mais importante, cada vez mais presente, cada vez mais vai ficando claro, né, que ele fala, que ele tem significado e significantes.
Salvador's Colonial Center was designated a UNESCO World Heritage Site in 1985. The idea was to preserve the wide variety of Renaissance architecture found in its hundreds of churches and colorful houses. It is a reflection of the vast wealth Portuguese slave owners reaped in the New World. But in many ways, it is a European facade that for centuries masked a much larger culture, one that found creative ways to peek through the cracks, sometimes hidden in plain sight. This bloco, Ileaye, a community-based drumming band, was the first to succeed in its quest to take to the streets in Salvador. It was a transformative event, according to Ileaye co-founder Vovô Antônio Carlos dos Santos.
Nós fomos chamados de comunistas, isso é coisa de vermelho, tudo isso, né? A polícia acompanhava nossos ensaios, mas só que isso foi como um rastilho, né? Na cidade, né? Quando começou os tambores a tocar, despertou a negritude, né?
Emerging from a clandestine, centuries-old Candomblé society, Ileaye is symbolic of the renaissance of Afro-culture in Brazil. Now with international acclaim, it is the subject of songs and the inspiration of dozens of all-black blocos across the country. According to spokesperson Uyara Lopez, events such as this one correspond to important dates on the Candomblé calendar.
Agora, por exemplo, vai acontecer o ritual que vai para a saída do Ileaê, é um ritual que tem os pombos, tem um ritual que acontece aqui para vestir a deusa do ébano, né? Então esse ritual vai acontecer daqui a pouco. É um ritual que enaltece a condição dela enquanto deusa e a protege para a saída e ao bloco para a saída na avenida também.
Drawing its name from an African term that roughly translates to a home for everyone, Ileaye has experienced an explosion of community participation and enthusiasm from its base in Liberdade, which means freedom. And, says Olivia Santana, Bahia's first black congresswoman, the message is clear.
Sai com uma agenda de luta contra a intolerância, uma agenda de promoção da igualdade, uma agenda que mostra que nós, negras e negros, temos uma história positiva, uma história afirmativa e não apenas a história do navio negreiro. Tem algo anterior ao navio negreiro e tem algo posterior ao navio negreiro, que é a resistência, a nossa capacidade de sobreviver em um país racista.
Literally woven into the cloth and in the choreography of these colorful, ritualized performances are iconic references to a distinctly non-European view of reality. Time, energy, space, and matter are not seen as separate but as a blended continuum, managed by forces that are present, personified, knowable, and to some degree negotiable. These forces are embodied in the orishas, depicted throughout the city in stylized art, with color, fabrics, and shapes representing their various divine powers. Orishas defy the labels of good and evil. Each can be benevolent, playful, and creative, or mischievous, vengeful, and destructive. They can provoke thought and inspire new ideas. Their spiritual energy animates different aspects of natural phenomena, such as wind and fire and storms. They are protectors, permeating forests and rivers and the sea. They exist outside of time. According to followers, not only does every person fall under the influence of one particular orisha, that orisha is intimately present and active in all things in a person's life. So present, in fact, that with practice and through ritual, such as performed in this Candomblé temple, the orisha can take over a follower's physical body.
A questão muito difícil de ser compreendida pela cultura branca, como por exemplo da posse, a questão da posse, do orixá, do coisa que recebe, né? Receber isso é para a cultura, apesar de ser uma cultura muito inteligente em função de reconhecer o inconsciente, o subconsciente, onde estão os orixás, onde estão se manifestando, sem susto, sem colocar isso como uma loucura. Muito antes de Freud ter revelado como parte da psique, o inconsciente, né, o superego, o ego, o id, essas características que compõem a psique humana. E, no entanto, o Candomblé registra tudo isso de uma forma muito natural, recebe essas manifestações e provoca essas manifestações.
There are no texts, no scriptures in Candomblé or in any of the other Afro-Brazilian religions. Knowledge and practice have been passed down through saint mothers and fathers for generations. And while there is no proselytizing, the number of temples has increased significantly, with more than 1,000 estimated to exist in the city. Followers arrive freely and coerced by fear, now from a broad spectrum of social and racial backgrounds.
Eu vou te dar presente hoje.
Theirs is a belief system with no real sense of time or judgment, no heaven or hell, only the transcendence of vibration and energy. It is rhythm that creates the connection between the realms, and according to Saint Mother Iracide Souza, it is highly developed awareness and sensitivity that allows followers to fulfill their destiny.
O Candomblé veio, os rituais, quem trouxeram foram os africanos, né? Através dos escravos. E eles não tinham autorização dos seus donos, né, de praticar. Então, eles se escondiam, sim, e através da dança dos atabaques, eles se comunicavam. Nós estamos saudando eles, chamando eles para que venham nos proteger, que traga paz para a nossa casa, o povo que procura nossas casas, porque é através disso que ele nos escuta.
It is this polytheistic, animistic understanding that informs so much of daily life in Salvador. Herbs and incense, oils, beads and figurines that will earn favor with the orishas line the shelves of local markets. Vendors prepare acarajé, a Yoruba dish that has become a staple in the Brazilian diet. Aromas and textures, colors and contours, lineage in the lines and between the lines, hint at the forms of ancestral Africa. As does the swaying and lunging of capoeira, a uniquely Brazilian creation performed to the metallic melody of a single-stringed berimbau. Acrobatic, athletic, powerful, kicks and punches are thrown but never land. It is a deadly martial art disguised as a dance, another centuries-old institution of resistance, hidden in plain sight. And everywhere the sound of drumming. Complex polyrhythms, some dating back to pre-colonial Africa, some developed over centuries and even recent decades here in Salvador. Calling out and connecting the old to the new with a freedom and energy that has only very recently been expressed.
Essa maneira de expressão que temos aqui, de você com a percussão, com a coisa rítmica, né? É o legado das matrizes afro-brasileiras, dos povos de África que vieram para o Brasil, da nossa formação, está no sangue, está na expressão, no DNA, por assim dizer, né? dessa memória, né?
But it is during Carnival, a yearly event ironically dictated by the Catholic calendar, that the thunder of Salvador's African roots is heard loudest. For 5 days and 5 nights, Salvadorans celebrate unfettered and unabashedly. Packed along the avenues of parade routes, the revelers watch as muses and maids mingle with princesses and princes, and warriors and hunters. Orishas are honored and hold court, playfully taunting followers with their defiance and power. Both free-form and highly choreographed performances are on display, sometimes with thousands of participants demonstrating the highest degree of skill and physical prowess. And the drumming hums, and the drumming pounds, relentlessly, hypnotically. On top of modified tracks called trio eléctricos, artists sing original songs to a world without conflict, to the beauty and power of nature, and to a history that only recently has been acknowledged. Of these, Margareth Menezes is perhaps Salvador's most famous daughter, legendary for her raw vocal power, Africa-themed lyrics, and devoted following.
Essa música que a gente faz hoje no Brasil não é mais não é música purista africana. A música africana tá lá, se você for, vai ver como é que é o negócio, né? De várias, as linguagens várias. A nossa música, ela já tem mais outros elementos da contemporaneidade. É uma música que tem já uma conversa assim que você, a comunicação é incrível, né? A base é africana, mas a comunicação é uma comunicação contemporânea muito grande, né?
It is not Africa, but Africa is here, in the palpable euphoria and authenticity of Salvador's Carnival celebration, something that is rare in the world, reflecting a city with a growing sense of its deeply rooted identity. So, in many ways, almost 500 years after its founding, the story of Salvador feels like it has only just begun.